Welcome to the Best Football Show. I'm Brian Baldinger. You can find this show if you just download your Odyssey app for free, wherever you do that. Like it and subscribe to it. Watch it on almost a daily basis. We'll be here quite a bit between now and the draft in Green Bay, which is, April 26th. So it's coming up pretty soon here. Anyways, and you can find me and all the stuff that I do, getting ready for the draft. I'll be at a number of pro days. I want to tell you, I'll be at Miami's Pro Day on March 24th, next Monday. I'll be at Penn State's Pro Day next Friday, March 28th. And I'll be at Colorado's Spring Day, which is April 4th. So looking forward to watching all those great athletes, Abdul Carter, Ty Warren, Shedeur Sanders, Travis Hunter, Cam Ward, you name it. I'll be there watching it. So listen, we got good news here. If you're a Cincinnati Bengal fans, you got to be thrilled. Somehow, Mike Brown, the owner, Bengals don't really have a general manager. Somehow they got their star receivers signed and delivered, Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. And I got to tell you, I was at the Bengals training camp twice last year, and all I saw Jamar and T do is play catch on the sidelines. They didn't dress, they didn't practice. They were a hold in, as we like to say right now. They were holding in, didn't hold out. They got new deals, top of the market new deals. And nobody thought anybody could do it, or the Bengals couldn't do it. But it's interesting because really the history of teams paying two wide receivers number one money isn't great. The Eagles are doing it with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, but there's not a lot of teams paying 1 and 1A in this league right now. Not a lot of teams paying their number ones starting salary money. It just has not been. I mean, even if you looked at the Rams with Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua was a 5th-round pick. Now, here's Cooper Kupp is gone. We'll get to that in a second. But the challenge now is, can they maintain both wide receivers and the tight end Mike Gesicki? So think about it. They got T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, Mike Gesicki, all locked up. All right. And Joe Burrow. And Joe Burrow was really, I think, the mouthpiece to this whole thing. Like, he wanted to keep his guys together. Now the challenge is, can they keep Tre Hendrickson, who's got 71 sacks in the last 5 years? Only T.J. Watt with 72 has more. He had 17 and a half sacks last year. The rest of the defensive line had 18 sacks. So we're talking about a guy who's got 17 and a half, two years in a row, 35 sacks, 2 years now. He's been a highly productive player. Can the Bengals keep him? Sam Hubbard has retired. They need defensive line help. If the Bengals get this done, and he's got 1 year left in his contract now, so Tre Hendrickson is under contract for 2025, but to be a free agent after that, at age 30. If the Bengals get Gesicki, Chase, T. Higgins, and Hendrickson all locked up after they locked up Joe Burrow, that would be amazing. Now, salary cap is $279 million. The cap helps. It's going up $30 million. It helps. It will probably go up next year. That helps the Bengals. But this is a franchise that has not ponied up money to start players very often. It says something about Joe Burrow, outspoken about it. Maybe Mike Brown realizing, do you want to compete with Baltimore and Pittsburgh? You better pay your star players. There you go. We'll see. I have a feeling they're going to get Hendrickson done. And nobody thought they could get everybody done. Nobody. So let's credit the Bengals organization if they do. Next up, Cooper Kupp, now going to Seattle to join Sam Darnold, Jackson Smith, and Jigba. K9, Zach Charbonnet, a new regime. I think Cooper Kupp If you look at the last time Cooper Kupp played in Seattle last year, I think he had 14 catches in the game, like over 100 yards. Like he had a great day in Seattle. They couldn't really cover him. He's still a great player. He just has had injury history. Now, the one thing Cooper can give you, he can give you great route running. He can adjust to any football. Sam Darnold wants to throw one on timing to a spot. Cooper Kupp will go get to that spot and get the ball. He is a retriever, a golden retriever, going after the football. Like he's got real skills adjusting to the ball in the air. He did that with Matt Stafford over the last 3 years. But they needed a receiver. So we'll see. Cooper Kupp, he's got an injury history. He's 31 or 32 years old. The one thing Cooper gives you, though, he is a great blocker in the run game, whether it's at the point of attack, whether it's the backside. I mean, you literally can play 13 personnel. Okay? Clint Kubiak, the offense coordinator, could go out there with, one tight end, 3 wide receivers. But with Cooper as one of your receivers, it's like you're in 12 personnel. It's like you're in, 2 tight ends, all right, because the way he can block the edge. And maybe that led to some of his injuries. I don't know, but he's an excellent blocker at the line of scrimmage to help in the run game. Let's go to the New York Giants. The New York Giants right now still don't have a quarterback. Tommy DeVito is the only quarterback on their roster. Meanwhile, they've talked to Joe Flacco. They have talked to Russell Wilson. They have talked to Jameis Winston. They have yet to talk to Aaron Rodgers. So the Giants did pretty good in free agency. They got 2 starters in Javon Holland and Paulson Adebo in the secondary. They got Chauncey Golston, who can start at an end position, play on the interior in sub packages, rush the passer, coming off a year where he had 5.5 sacks in Dallas, his best year. Then they signed depth players. Greg Van Roten started at guard and center for him last year. I believe he played every snap for the Giants. I know he's 35 years old, didn't have a lot of opportunities in free agency. He's back. They signed, an offensive tackle, James Hudson III from Cleveland, who has started games for the Cleveland Browns at both tackle spots. They got depth in the offensive line. They brought back Darius Slayton. They basically brought back the exact same offense as a year ago. Wandale and Malik, and Tyrone Tracy. And they brought back the entire offense and some depth in the offense line without the quarterback. But what are they going to do? Russell Wilson is talking to other teams. Aaron Rodgers has yet to talk to anybody. I don't think he's coming to the New York Giants. I just don't. And so then you go, can the Giants with the 3rd pick get a quarterback? Well, Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders are thought to be the top 2 quarterbacks in this draft. And like I said, I'll see both their pro days. I'll see how well attended they will be, which will be heavily attended. The Giants sitting at number 3, they might not be able to stay at 3 and get a quarterback. But even if they sign Russell or Jameis or Aaron, even if they sign any of them, they still have to draft a quarterback. Their quarterback situation is not settled if they sign any of these quarterbacks that are out there. Flacco, Jameis, Russell, Aaron, or anybody else. Their quarterback situation isn't settled. The Eagles' situation is settled. The Commanders' quarterback situation is settled. Dak is pretty settled at Dallas. The Giants have got to get this position settled. I mean, since Eli retired, they have not figured it out. And that's why they're picking number 3 and why they're coming off one of the worst years out of the 100-year history of the New York Giants, a history that started in 1925. They've got to get this thing figured out. But I think they're going to have to draft a guy. I mean, it would be great if they got Russell or Aaron and drafted Travis Hunter at number 3. They still got to draft a quarterback. All right, let's get to the Eagles, because all the Eagles do, to me, is improve the roster. Think about it. low down in free agency, they went out and signed Azeez Ojulari and Josh Uche. Now, both these rushers are coming off situation. Look, Josh Uche got traded to Kansas City Chiefs. He could not learn that defense. Nobody. That defense is multiple. You got to learn multiple positions on the fly. It was tough for him. But he had injuries in New England. But, in 2022, he did have 11 and a half sacks. In fact, he was a major contributor in 2022. And Ojulari, his rookie year in 2021, had 8 sacks. He had 6 last year. Both guys can rush the quarterback. So now the Eagles lose Josh Sweat. They lose Bryce Huff. They lose Milton Williams. But they are an 8-man rotation defensive line. They want to keep guys fresh for 20 games, not 17. They're thinking about winning a Super Bowl. They got to keep guys fresh for 20 weeks. So you bring in Ojulari, who there's nobody that's seen him rush the passer in New York that says he can't rush the passer. He's got skills. Now, he's not maybe a starter or an every down player. But if you put Uche and Ojulari in there on a rotation basis, they're going to get to the quarterback. And you add that to Nolan Smith and Jalix Hunt, they're not bad off the edge. And they're going to draft an edge rusher. So that's Philadelphia Eagles. But when you have the quarterback situation settled, you've got your star players. They just extended Lane Johnson through 2027. He's going to make $40 million a year the next 2 years. They just keep taking care of their own players. Lane Johnson is the best right tackle in football. And for my money, he's the best tackle in all of football. All he does is line up and play great ball. And the Eagles recognize it. I don't know of any tackle in the history of pro football is going to make more money than Lane Johnson. But they recognize his consistency, how good he is week in, week out. He's given up 1 sack in the last 4 years. All right. It's just a fact. Let me get to my last finding here. Deion Sanders came out and is playing around with the idea of playing an opponent for his spring game. Now think about that. Going back to my days when I was in college, we had a spring game. Everybody has a spring game. Now, I had 20 days of spring football when I was at Duke, and we had a spring game. I think spring football is down to 15 days now. But everybody has a spring game, and it's a big deal. ESPN televises it. But think about this. Think about if Deion's proposal, and I think the team that he mentioned was Syracuse, that he's in discussions with Syracuse to have a real game. It'll be like a spring game. It'll be controlled to a degree. But, you go through one-on-ones and pregame warm-ups and all that stuff, and then you have this, this scrimmage against an opposing team. You imagine what you could do with that in college football with Ohio State, Georgia, Clemson, Alabama, Oregon. Just go to the teams. Nebraska, Colorado. Just go to the teams. And what if they all started lining up an opponent for a spring game? What you could do television-wise on Friday night, Saturdays, Sundays in the spring. You could layer these games. So let's just say Colorado, spring game is in late April on a Saturday afternoon. Well, who's not to say that Georgia couldn't have one against, I don't know, pick a team. Duke on a Saturday night. Ohio State against, I don't know, Nebraska. Maybe not a division, a conference game. But Ohio State against Kansas State, North Dakota State, whatever, spring game. This thing could blow up. You talk about a ratings bonanza. Who wouldn't watch that? If you had a choice not to knock the NBA or not to knock Major League Baseball, but if you're in the month of April and it's a Friday night, a Saturday afternoon, Saturday night, Sunday afternoon, Sunday night, you're not going to watch Nebraska and Louisiana Tech? in a spring game? Are you kidding me? No. Like, this might be revolutionary. Now, I don't know how far this is in the discussions, but I'm going to see Deion on April 3rd and 4th for their pro day. And I'm going to talk to him about it. Hope to have more information. Maybe more comes out between now and then. And I'm not spreading false information here. I'm just saying this is in the works. It's in discussion. Nothing's been finalized. And all I'm saying is, what if? What if this becomes a thing? The spring game becomes more than just an intra-squad game. What if it becomes a thing? Like, I'm just running with it. It could become a thing. Anyways, I hope to give you more information on this. This has been the Best Football Show. We've got breaking news almost every single day. We've got pro days. Bengals just lock up their 2 wide receivers. Let's see what happens. Come join me tomorrow. I'll have more information on whatever subject it is. More signings, under the radar signings, roster adjustments, you name it. Trades, whatever the news comes, I'll be here to bring it to you on the Best Football Show. Please join me tomorrow. Look forward to talking to you soon.